It was supposed to be a normal visit at the prison. An inmate named Dwight sat behind a thick glass window, waiting for the woman he had called his wife for 20 years. She walked in, smiling softly, dressed like she always did. But that day, something was different. A prison document from a medical exam had revealed a truth he never expected, a truth that broke his mind. The woman he loved, the woman he built a life with, was not who she claimed to be. Within minutes, voices rose inside the visiting room. Chairs scraped. Guards rushed in. The inmate stood up, trembling, pointing a small hidden weapon at her face. And then, inside a room meant for quiet conversations, 10 shots echoed like thunder. Her body dropped. He stared, breathing hard, whispering the same words over and over. "Why did you lie to me? Why?" If you are watching this, make sure you subscribe now. This story is one of the most shocking cases ever recorded in Ohio. Stay with me. Welcome back. This channel tells real stories that shock and real people who made choices that changed everything. If you want to see the full breakdown of this case, pause and subscribe now. Hit the button, ring the bell, and stay until the end. You will want to hear every detail. Comment below where you are watching from. I read every reply. Today we follow Dwight, a man who spent years behind bars, and a woman he called his wife for 2 decades. We will also follow a prison guard, a man who held authority and trust, and who some say betrayed both. In later chapters, I will explain how the two of them met in secret, how favors were traded, and how a plan took shape. I will also show how investigators traced small mistakes back to the source, and how the justice system reacted when the truth came out. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. Before the shouting inside that visiting room, before the gun passed from a guard to an inmate, there was a marriage that began like many others. Dwight met her in church, long before prison bars, long before betrayal. She was quiet, graceful, always wearing long sleeves and soft colors. She said her name was Serena, and she walked with the kind of confidence that made people trust her. Their courtship was simple. They went on walks, shared stories, prayed together, and everything seemed pure. Dwight was not a man who asked too many questions. He fell in love fast, and he fell deep. Within months, they married, and friends said they were inseparable. They lived in a small apartment near the edge of town. No loud neighbors, no family drama, no children, even though they tried. She always said the time would come. He believed her. There were small signs that something was not normal. She never changed clothes around him. She always disappeared during medical appointments. She kept documents locked, always guarded, never open on the table. But Dwight trusted her. He had no reason not to. When Dwight was later arrested on a robbery and sent to prison, she promised to wait for him. She visited often, always calm, always loving, always smiling through the screen. No one suspected anything. She was known as a devoted wife, the type who stayed loyal. But everything changed the day prison staff asked Serena for medical proof to process a new clearance request. The paperwork came back, and with it, truth. A truth hidden for over 20 years. Serena was not the woman she claimed to be. No one knows what broke first, his pride, his faith, or his mind. Rumors spread through the inmates fast. Whispers filled the halls. Eyes followed Dwight everywhere he walked. One guard watched him closer than others. This guard would later become part of a plan that should never have happened. The day the truth came out, everything around Dwight slowed. He sat in his cell, staring at the wall, replaying 20 years in his head. Every touch, every promise, every word she ever spoke. He asked for her at visitation, wanting answers. She came, holding her purse tight. Her hands trembled, but her voice stayed steady. She tried to explain that she loved him, that her past never changed her heart. She said she feared rejection, judgment, and losing him. Dwight felt something inside him collapse. He asked her how she could hide something so important. She said she was afraid he would leave, that the world outside was cruel, and he was the only person who ever made her feel safe. His voice turned sharp. The glass between them felt thin. "Why did you lie to me? Why did you make me believe a life that was not real?" Serena cried. The guards signaled for calm, but her words only made things worse. She said she never meant to hurt him. She said everything they shared felt true. The visit ended with silence. She stood, wiping her face. He stayed seated, cold, empty. Hours later, his cellmate told him something that changed everything. He said Dwight was now a joke. He said inmates were laughing behind his back. He said a man could not live with that shame. That night, Dwight broke. He pounded the wall until his hands bled. He whispered to himself until morning. The next day, he met a guard named Willis. Willis had been watching him for weeks. He spoke in a quiet voice, offering help no officer should ever offer. He said there were ways to make pain go away. He said there were things a man could do to reclaim his pride. Those words planted a seed, the seed of a plan. Guard Willis was not a rookie. He had worked inside the facility long enough to understand every blind spot, every weak camera, every corner where eyes stopped watching. Some inmates feared him, others admired him. He liked the attention, and he liked control. He noticed Dwight's collapse and saw an opening. It began with small conversations, moments exchanged through metal bars. Willis pressed him, asking how he felt, what he wanted, how far he was willing to go. At first, Dwight said nothing, but silence has a way of turning into confession. One evening, Dwight spoke. He said he could not sleep. He said his thoughts spilled like poison. He said he wanted the truth to burn away. Willis nodded slowly, as if he understood. He leaned closer and asked what Dwight would do if he had one chance to speak his pain. Dwight did not answer, but his eyes said enough. From that moment, the path darkened. They began meeting in a storage corridor, late at night, when other inmates slept. Willis planned every detail. The gun would not come from outside. It would come from his own belt. A guard weapon, never suspected, never questioned. He promised Dwight one moment, one chance to look Serena in the eyes and end the pain. That was the plan. A visiting room, a quiet morning. No witnesses close enough to stop it. Willis said he would walk past Dwight, slip him the gun with a simple hand tap, then keep moving like nothing happened. Cameras would not see it. His angle was timed. Dwight listened, numb. He felt his heart pounding as Willis spoke. The plan sounded simple, simple enough to work, but simple does not mean safe. Simple does not mean smart. Simple only means committed. Dwight agreed, not with words, only with a nod. In that moment, both men crossed a line they could never undo. The morning arrived quiet, the kind of quiet that feels planned. Dwight woke before sunrise and sat on the edge of his bunk. He did not speak. He did not blink much. He only waited. Down the hall, Willis moved like it was just another day. His shirt was tucked. His badge shined. His steps were steady. He greeted other guards, but his eyes never revealed the weight he carried. Serena signed into the visitor log at the front desk. She looked nervous. She had spent the night rehearsing words she hoped would calm the storm. She wanted to fix what she had broken, or at least soften the wound. She carried a small purse. Inside was a letter, a long apology. She planned to slip it through the glass. Guards led her into the visiting room. Chairs were lined up, sunlight drifting through high windows. Dwight was already there, waiting. His eyes did not lift to greet her. She sat, giving a small smile, hoping he would mirror it. He did not. Instead, he asked the same question. Why, she looked down and tried to speak. Her voice shook, but she pushed through. She said she hid her truth because she feared that the world would destroy her peace. She said she found safety in him, and she was scared of losing him. She said she never wanted to hurt him. He stared, unmoving. For 20 years, he believed he knew her. Now every memory felt strange. Willis entered behind them, walking the perimeter. To everyone, it looked routine, but Dwight's heart raced. He knew the signal. Willis passed behind him, a touch at the elbow, a small shift of weight. The cold metal slipped into Dwight's hand under the table. Time slowed. Serena leaned forward, still talking, still reaching for understanding. Her tears touched the glass. She said she loved him. Dwight stood. The chair scraped across the floor. The room froze. Serena's eyes widened as his hand rose. In that moment, the plan arrived at its final point, and nothing could stop what came next. The room fell into a deep silence before the first sound. Serena's lips were still parted, mid-sentence, when she saw the weapon in his hand. She whispered his name. Not loud, not angry, just soft, like she still believed he could stop. But Dwight was gone. His eyes were hollow. His mind was somewhere far from that glass in that room. He raised the gun. 1 second stretched into forever. Then the first shot rang out. People screamed. Guards dove for cover. Serena stumbled back, clutching her head, but Dwight did not stop. Second shot. Third. The air split with every pull of the trigger. By the fifth shot, she was no longer standing. But Dwight kept firing. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The echo bounced off the walls, each sound sharper than the last. When the final shot faded, Dwight stood still, staring at the motionless body on the floor. He did not run. He did not hide. He lifted his hands slowly and whispered the only words he had left. "Why did you lie to me?" Guards swarmed him, pulling him to the ground. Willis stood frozen, watching his plan unfold right before him. For a moment, no one noticed his trembling hands. Blood spread across the floor. Visitors cried. One guard radioed for help, his voice shaking. Dwight was dragged from the room. Serena's body lay still, the letter still inside her purse, never opened. Some say Dwight lost his mind that day. Others say he was already lost. What no one knew yet was that the truth behind this moment went deeper than a hidden identity. There was a plan, and soon the plan would unravel. The visiting room turned silent, except for the sound of guards shouting orders. They dragged Dwight out, his wrists locked in chains. He did not resist. He only stared forward, breathing slow, as if the storm inside him had finally settled. Serena was rushed toward the infirmary, but the doctor knew instantly. 10 shots to the head left no chance. Her body was covered and taken away, while the letter in her purse slipped free. It was found later, smudged with blood. News moved fast through the prison. Whispers carried from cell to cell. Some inmates said Dwight snapped. Others said he planned it from the start. But only one thing stood out. No inmate should ever have had a gun. That question spread quickly. Where did the weapon come from? Investigators arrived within hours. They closed the compound, shut down visitation, and interviewed every guard in the room. Willis tried to stay calm. He spoke clearly, saying he only saw Dwight stand and fire. He said he never saw a weapon pass hands. But one officer watched him closely. His story sounded too smooth, too quick. Security reviewed the cameras. One angle showed Dwight sitting rigid. Another showed Willis passing behind him at the exact moment before the shots. The frame was unclear, but the timing was strange. Detectives noted Dwight's control, how he fired calmly, how he stood down without panic. That did not look like a sudden break. It looked prepared. Serena's family arrived, broken and confused. They did not know how he got the weapon. They demanded answers and pushed for a deeper look into the prison staff. That pressure forced the investigation to go wider. Phones were seized, rooms were searched, logs were checked. Whispers inside the prison pointed toward one name: Willis. He worked the floor that morning. His route matched the moment, and camera shadows did not lie. The walls began closing in. Detectives sat Dwight in a cold room. His wrists were locked, his eyes fixed on the table. He was silent at first, but silence never lasts. After a long stretch of questioning, he spoke just one name: Willis. That alone was not enough, but it gave detectives a direction. They pulled Willis into another room. He sat confident, hands folded, saying he did nothing wrong. He insisted he only walked past Dwight like any normal shift. He said he froze because he was shocked by the violence. But detectives continued to push. They found something small but powerful. A storage room had been unlocked that night. Willis was the only guard seen entering it. Inside the drawer, they found gloves with faint gun oil and fibers from Dwight's uniform. It linked them, not directly, but enough to raise the heat. Then came the second mistake. A guard reported hearing Willis whisper to Dwight days before the shooting, something about a chance, something about pride. The words were vague, but the timing was not. Detectives returned to Dwight. He began talking little by little. He said Willis offered advice at first, then it turned into a plan. He said he never would have touched a weapon if Willis had not placed it in his hand. He even described the exact moment the guard brushed his elbow. Investigators checked the route logs. The timing matched perfectly. The final crack came when they examined Willis's locker. Inside was a small sheet of paper, ripped and folded. It held only a few words. The date, the time, and the word visit. It was simple, too simple, but it confirmed the timeline. Detectives placed Willis under arrest. His face lost every trace of confidence. His hands trembled as they took his badge, his belt, his keys. What began as one crime had now become two. A man ended a life, and a guard helped him do it. But this story was not over. Courtrooms were waiting, and truth still had more layers to show. The courtroom filled with heavy faces, family members, reporters, prison staff, and strangers who only knew the headlines. Everyone wanted to understand how a husband could fire 10 shots in a room meant for peace, and how a guard sworn to protect could place a weapon in his hand. Dwight entered first. He wore chains and kept his eyes down. Willis came next, clean-cut but pale. He avoided looking at Dwight. He avoided looking at the crowd. Prosecutors spoke about betrayal, about planning, about the long night meetings in dark corners. They explained how Willis studied blind spots and camera gaps. They called the act cold, careful, and guided by wounded pride. Dwight's lawyer tried to argue that he was broken by the news of Serena's hidden truth, that his mind shattered under years of lies. The courtroom stayed silent, listening. Some felt for him. Others stared with emptiness. Serena's family took the stand. Voices shaking, they spoke about her kindness, her fear, her quiet love. They said she never deserved that end, no matter the secret she carried. Tears filled the room. When the judge read the verdict, there was no noise. Dwight was sentenced to life. No chance of walking free again. Willis received his own judgment. Conspiracy. Smuggling a weapon, aiding a violent act. He was sentenced to decades behind bars. The two men once tied in secret now shared the same fate, locked in the same system they manipulated. One reporter later said it felt like the courtroom held two funerals, one for Serena's life, and one for the two men who chose a path they could not return from. After sentencing, Dwight finally spoke. He said he never wanted things to end like that. He said he only wanted answers. He said he lost himself the moment he learned the truth. But the silence that followed said everything. No answer could bring Serena back. Time passed. The prison walls remained the same, but the story changed everyone who touched it. Dwight spent his days alone, quiet, staring at cold floors and metal bars. He never spoke about Serena again. Some inmates said he prayed at night. Others claimed he just sat still, breathing like he was waiting for time to finish him. Willis lived on another block, guarded by men he once worked beside. He kept to himself. No greetings, no smiles. He learned fast what it meant to lose every piece of power he once held. Serena's family held a small burial. No big speeches, just quiet tears and a closed coffin. Her story became a whisper in town, a soft memory of a woman who tried to find peace in a world that never let her feel safe. Reporters moved on to new headlines, but this case stayed in the minds of many. Some blamed Dwight, some blamed Willis. Some said both men destroyed a life because they could not face truth with grace. Others saw a deeper lesson. Secrets are heavy. They bend hearts. They change destinies. If Serena had spoken earlier, maybe this would be different. If Dwight had listened with patience, maybe he would have chosen mercy. If Willis had followed his oath, maybe no life would have been taken. But life does not bend for what if. It only records what is. Right now, I want to know what you think. Do you believe Dwight acted out of brokenness? Do you believe Willis should carry equal blame? Or do you think both men deserve every second of their sentence? Tell me your thoughts in the comments, and also tell me where you are watching from. If you stayed until now, thank you. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss a story like this. More cases are coming, stories that remind us how fragile the mind is, how dangerous secrets can be, and how one moment can change everything. Until next time, stay safe. This is Dark Motives. Goodbye.